Hello everyone, in this video we are going to discuss the cyclic cAMP signaling pathway. Cyclic cAMP pathway is basically a secondary messenger system, and different hormones and neurotransmitters exert their effect by this pathway. So what happens actually, it looks that it's some kind of mysterious pathway, but it's quite simple. You can see here, this is the cell membrane, and this is the receptor which is present inside the cell membrane, and this receptor have 7 transmembrane helices. You can see here, this is first one, this is second one, this is third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one, and seventh one. So this is the receptor basically, and this receptor has ligand binding domain that is present outside, and here at the receptor some hormone or neurotransmitter binds. So what happens when some hormone binds here and activates the receptor, and this receptor is linked to G protein which is present inside the cell membrane. You can see here, this is the G protein, and in case of cyclic cAMP, which is this G protein, this is basically GS protein. GS means it will basically stimulate the system, entire system, to produce the and increase the level of cyclic cAMP in the cell. This G protein has 3 subunits: alpha subunit, beta subunit, and gamma subunit. So what happens here? Alpha subunit basically is bound to GDP. It has linked GDP with it. So what happens here? When it gets stimulated by hormone, it releases its GDP. GDP gets dissociated from alpha subunit and it attaches GTP. And after getting attached to GTP, what happens? Alpha subunit moves and activates adenylyl cyclase enzyme. So what this enzyme does? This enzyme converts the ATP into cyclic cAMP. So what does this cyclic cAMP do? This cyclic cAMP activates protein kinase A. It converts protein kinase A from its inactive to active form. So what does this protein kinase A? This protein kinase A promotes the phosphorylation of different proteins and enzymes in the cell, and these enzymes and cell promote the cellular response. So it was the brief overview of this system. And what happens? This cyclic cAMP is degraded by phosphodiesterase enzyme, which converts it into AMP, and the response of cyclic cAMP dies out. So you can understand this by this diagram. Also, this is the receptor here, and this is the messenger, which may be hormone, which may be a neurotransmitter, and it is linked to GS protein. This is GS protein, this is alpha subunit, beta subunit, gamma subunit, and alpha subunit is linked to GDP. What happens when messenger binds here? It activates G protein, and G protein releases its GDP and binds to GTP. So what happens? This alpha subunit linked with GTP goes to adenylyl cyclase enzyme, and this enzyme converts ATP into cyclic cAMP. And what happens? This cyclic cAMP activates the protein kinase A, and this protein kinase A, what it does? It promotes the phosphorylation of different proteins and enzymes in the cell. You can see here, this is a non-phosphorylated protein, and it gets phosphorylated by protein kinase A, and this phosphorylated protein produces different responses in the cell. So it was all about the cyclic cAMP pathway. What happens? First, hormone binds at the receptor, and it activates G protein, GS protein, and alpha subunit of GS protein releases GDP and binds to GTP and goes to adenylyl cyclase enzyme, which converts ATP into cyclic cAMP. This cyclic cAMP activates protein kinase A, and this protein kinase A promotes the phosphorylation of different proteins and enzymes in the cell, which produce the cellular response. And how does the response dies out? This cyclic cAMP is degraded by enzyme phosphodiesterase, which converts it into AMP, and when it gets converted to AMP, its response dies out. So it was all about cyclic cAMP pathway. So these are the list of hormones which exert their effect via cyclic cAMP. It includes glucagon, it includes adrenaline, it includes calcitonin, it includes vasopressin. So it was all about today's video. Thank you.